Breaking fucking news. Boruto Chapter 41 review. But before we get into that, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button if you're new. It lets me know that you're rocking with the content that I put out here on this channel. And without further ado, let's get into this review. Now, I'm thinking about going a different direction with my reviews. I don't feel that it's necessary to review the entire chapter of Boruto or any manga just because, we both read the chapter. What am I doing going page by page, panel by panel? That's not what I want. I want to really discuss the takeaways from these chapters and the main importance of these chapters. And for Boruto Chapter 41, there seems to be issues, at least from what I'm discerning, that may potentially lead to plot holes down the line. Kishimoto is famous for plot holes at very critical, already established points. The biggest example I can give you is during his series Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. It was widely understood and recognized that if a Uchiha or a Sharingan user overused their Sharingan, it would lead to blindness. We saw that with Sasuke and we saw that with Itachi. However, for some reason, Obito and Kakashi's Sharingan were just excluded from that, considering the fact that Obito he basically lived with his Mangekyo Sharingan active. He was phasing through everything and anything, but for some reason, he never once experienced any sort of blindness. Now, you might have to ask, what does that have to do with this Boruto chapter? Well, it has everything to do with this Boruto chapter, considering the fact that you have Kawaki who just explained the magic. And that's a phrase that we use in the writing community, in which basically dictates that he gave an explanation to something that should never have had an explanation, that we had already known to be true. He started to explain karma in depth, and that's something you really shouldn't do, because we already understood that karma absorbed ninjutsu altogether. Kawaki went as far as to explain the very specifics of what it can and cannot absorb. In this case, he breaks it down even further to Boruto, and he says that karma can absorb creations that are created by chakra, but they cannot absorb physical matter that is just manipulated by chakra. Now, that's not verbatim, but that is exactly what he is saying in this. He uses the example for Boruto. He says, and this is verbatim, he says, quote, "For example, karma can absorb a water jutsu that is created by chakra, but not a jutsu that uses physical water that already exists in rivers and seas. That's how it works. Energy can be absorbed, but not physical matter." That's what Sarada says for clarification. That's karma's limitation, question mark. Then Kawaki comes in and he says, yeah, you can't use karma to deal with the mist because it's physical matter. We have to find another way. End quote. And I really want to expand upon that, because when he said it, it made complete sense. But this is the problem with explaining the magic. It made sense because if that was the limitation, then that would be its limitation. But you have to then expand upon that in further detail. When he says it can't absorb physical matter, let's use the water jutsu example. Well, for example, chakra that creates water. So if someone used water style ninjutsu Raging Tide, right? That's the jutsu where they spew water out of their mouth. The best example I can give you for that is when the Hidden Mist ninjas used Raging Tide, Raging Wave against Madara during the fourth great ninja war. They spewed water out their mouth and it collided with his Majestic Fire jutsu that he started. That is an example of chakra creating water. Now, an example of chakra manipulating water would be when Kakashi and Zabuza used Water Dragon Jutsu at the same time during the Bridge Builder arc back in the first half of Naruto. So at this point, you're probably like, Hugo, what's the problem? The problem is that we've seen karma absorb a plethora of jutsus that have already broken this rule that has now been established because of Boruto Chapter 41. And if you think about it, it made sense. Oh, that makes complete sense. But then you realize that out of the 5 basic nature chakras, so earth, wind, fire, water, and lightning nature chakras, all of them just manipulate their element, minus fire and minus lightning. Wind style ninjutsu manipulates the wind around it. Whether or not you can see it, technically wind style ninjutsu is a physical element. if you move your hand in the air, you feel the wind moving out of the way of your arm. Earth-style ninjutsu, we've never seen Earth-style ninjutsu utilized other than when they're standing on the ground. And of course, water-style ninjutsu is up in the air, but most of the time, people are utilizing water-style ninjutsu near a body of water. It's very rare that we see a water-style ninja that can manipulate water outside, like large quantities. Really, it's just Tobirama and Kizame that are able to summon large amounts of water away from any natural body of water. So when Kawaki says this, it's kind of like, does that mean that it's useless? Because if that means it can't absorb chakra that is manipulating the physical element itself, in this case Earth-style ninjutsu, you can't absorb it. And it's just kind of odd to me that it came at this point right now. That's something Boruto needed to know. Because say if they used, I don't know, Earth-style Dragon Mouth Jutsu, right? And, no, Earth-style Dragon Bullet Jutsu. I think that's what it's called at least. Earth-style Dragon Bullet Jutsu, right? He's going to think that this nigga can absorb that shit. And little does he know it is a jutsu that is created from earth around him. You're not going to get around it. Like, there's ground everywhere in the Naruto verse. He's going to think he can absorb it. He's going to get directly impacted by that jutsu, and he's probably going to die. He's going to think he can absorb it. Kawaki, this is some shit you should have told him the minute you realized that he had the karma seal, because he is just talking about this in this chapter like it's just common sense. Not common sense, but like, yeah, he's always known it. He's just laying back and like, yeah, the karma can't exactly absorb anything that's manipulated by chakra. It can only absorb things that are created by chakra. And Boruto is standing there flabbergasted like, nigga, why didn't you tell me that at the beginning when you knew I had karma? That's some need to know shit that he did not know. So what I'm talking about in a nutshell is something I want to open up for discussion in the comment section. Am I really reaching when I think of these things for karma? Because he used the water example, and it's a good example, but it's not, because it makes sense. And that's weird to say for a series, but that's basically what we now have that Kawaki just set up. You can only absorb things that are created by chakra. So if you're pulling water out of thin air, that's something that's created by chakra. Something that is manipulated by chakra cannot be absorbed. So if he is sitting in the ocean and he uses water vortex jutsu, he would not be able to absorb that because it's coming from a body of water that already existed. So if you're using an earth-style ninjutsu that already existed, if you're using an earth-style jutsu that is using earth from the ground that is already physically existing, karma can't absorb that. That busts this whole karma thing wide open, because now there are severe limitations against earth, air, and water. And those are the most abundant. What am I even saying? Those are almost the entirety of elements that we have in existence. You're really only going to be able to absorb fire and lightning style ninjutsu, assuming it's not something along the lines of Karin that we've seen Sasuke use. He shoots fire style ninjutsu up in the air to produce thunderclouds, and then he uses the lightning that was created by the thunderclouds to strike his target. So from what we know from Kawaki, karma can't absorb that natural lightning, and that is extremely scary. I mean, I used to think that karma was extremely overpowered, but since we now know what we know from chapter 41, it's not. It's actually very easy to get around. Other than the fact that it buffs them entirely, that whole absorption aspect is kind of neutralized. If they're using earth-style ninjutsu, air-style ninjutsu, or water-style ninjutsu, assuming assuming they're fighting on like water itself. The rest of this chapter is pretty simple. I mean, they have Boro on the ropes, which is kind of upsetting because you would assume that Kara is basically the Akatsuki of this generation, and this is first gen Boruto. So basically, first season of Naruto is first season of Boruto. He's smacking the Akatsuki around. Essentially, this would be Naruto smacking the Akatsuki around, how Boruto is smacking Kara around. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how to feel about that just as much as Boruto doesn't know how to feel about Sarada being the commander of Team 7. Her aspirations is to become Hokage, and Boruto's kind of upset that she is the commander of new Team 7, which I don't understand why, because Boruto, somehow, some way, you still managed to piss me off even at this latent chapter of a monthly series. He's still impulsive and rash. That's not saying a lot, but at the same time, it's like, what are you doing? Why can't you relax? Like, you're charging head in, and that's kind of weird to me that he still does this and has this much power at his disposal, but he has no intellect at all. They're fighting Boro. They have this plan devised. It succeeds, and it's like, we were just introduced to Boro in well, I mean, technically, you know, it's only been like 3 chapters since we've been introduced to Boro, and it's already over. Why are these fights going back? Why are these fights going by so fast when at the end of the day, these are supposed to be elite level shinobi? Kara is turning out to be a disappointment, at least in my eyes, right? Delta, she did her thing. But, I mean, I don't know. They're just going by way too fast for me to actually be entertained by this. The Boruto manga has always done really well. And I'm just interested to see what else is going to transpire at the end of this. Because at the end of the chapter, you see Boro making a mad dash to the cauldron that Naruto is sealed inside of currently. So, because of this, you're just left to wonder what is going to happen. Is he going to get to the cauldron first? His whole reason for getting to the cauldron was to throw off the teamwork of the new Team 7. It seems as though he succeeded because they broke formation and they're trying to get to the cauldron before he does. This is clearly a trap. I don't believe that he is going to actually touch the cauldron. He is just using it as a way to eliminate some of the team so that the formation breaks. And yeah, that's how I feel about it. That's how I feel about this chapter. Thank you for rocking with me to the end. If you did, go plus ultra and smash that subscribe button. It lets me know that you're rocking with the content that I put out here on this channel. Drop a like, comment on the video, share the video, all that fancy stuff. I did get a new microphone. Happy holidays, and like always, keep it safe and wrap it tight. I'm out.
Perimeter breached. Defend HQ. Enemy at the junkyard. Move out. Get ready. We move soon. Enemy at the courtyard. Enemies in the air. HQ established. HQ is green. We're at the HQ. Stand by. Enemy at the back alley. Mind your courage. Victory will come.